Hello, 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 and welcome to another Daily Code Fun. I am One Lion, and today is another lazy day here at the here in Denver, or Commerce City, close to Denver. Anyway, it's nice and dreary outside, rainy, one of my favorite weather settings ever. Kind of low energy still, so hope you don't mind the low energy that I've been in lately, but I've been really relaxed. I've been really just, it feels nice. Not feeling like I'm rushed or under any kind of pressure or extra stress. I do enjoy the stress of programming and having a deadline. I mean, I hate deadlines, but the stress of it and the stuff that I end up getting done and the reward of finishing a thing, I do like that. But I don't necessarily enjoy feeling that all the time. And hello, Scott. But yeah, we're just going to keep going with where we left off, which was working on understanding the mocking of this test and everything that I need to do to make sure that the future tests that we write pass if we follow the same type of pattern. So right now, the thing that I got stuck on is this mock of lazy. Um, and I'm just completely not understanding how the mocking helper, that's what it's going to be called, the mocking helper that MKB gave us fully works. I have a much better understanding after Tyron came into the voice channel yesterday and just wanted to look through it, talk me through a couple of things. So what I understand of this, and I'm just going to go through this to see if maybe it'll help solidify my understanding or if any of you have any input, is when we inherit this abstract class, we get this mock of method, um, and that mock of will add whatever the type is to a dictionary of mocking things. And as long as type of TE is a class, which it has to be because it's constrained to a class, so I don't know why this check is there, but if type of TE is a class, then we get all of the parameter info in order to create a new instance of it. And for every parameter that we get, we will instantiate, nope, we will create a new mock, which is from the MOQ library. We'll create a new mock and pass in that list of parameters and get the default values of those parameters. Which means that we are completely ignoring. Oh man, what does this get default though? This get default is activator create instance of, which we can't do with what we're trying to do. Yeah, I'm not really liking this 4-hour situation that we're trying to get through. If we didn't get a new instance of mock of TE, then we create a new instance of mock of TE. And then we add it to the dictionary. Yeah, there's just a few scenarios that this doesn't really help with. I'm not liking that. It doesn't give us, it doesn't give me enough control over the object. So I think I am going to maybe try to incorporate more of the suggestions that Tyron gave, because after sitting and thinking about it and simmering on it, it makes more sense. So I'm going to create my own lazy loader and my own DB context factory. And actually the DB context factory I'm still going to use as mock of. And so this is what I should be able to do. I should be able to go var lazy model validator lazy of actually I think I need to declare it with type. That's what it was. So lazy of transaction model validator of deposit entry view model new lazy of, and then in the constructor we can pass in what it should give back. Yeah, value factory. Either value factory or the value itself. So we don't need a value factory if we can just pass in the value. So that would be model validator here. Give me a second and I'll explain it because I'm still trying to understand it too. I wouldn't need the new, I wouldn't need to put the actual type here because we're just passing back a new lazy of. I was just doing it verbosely. Scooch, give me more space. Yeah, all of it is confusing. So this lazy, the whole issue is that my service implementation has a bunch of stuff that I'm supposed to be passing in for dependency injection, but I'm not testing dependency injection. The thing that I am testing is this method. Cool. So what I was doing with this new setup is creating my own service under test, system under test, is passing in my own values for the IDB context factory using our mock DB context factory and our lazy transaction view model validator of deposit view model, and then testing that. So that's where the act is. And I'm hoping that in doing it this way, because I'm using the object from here, I am getting all of my setup stuff from up there and here. And actually, we can still do it this way. Yeah, I'm not going to mock that thing just to remove that one extra layer too. And then we'll clean all of this up once I figure out whether this works or not. So let's give it a shot. I'm dancing. Hopefully we make it this far. It doesn't look like we made it that far. Oh wait, still trying. Okay, so we made it that far. Here's where we're setting up our lazy model validator. And then here is where we're creating our new service. And that actually worked, which is cool. Hopefully that means when we go into this add, we have a DB context factory, which is our mocked DB context factory, and a validator with a value. Ah, crap. And it still broke. So where is my test explorer? Test explorer. Okay, so far we got, is this the same error or is this the last run? I think this might be the last run so far. It hasn't updated yet. Because I don't know what that error was. Okay, yes. Oh! Right. So I have the cancellation token canceling after 5 seconds. And because we were stepping through it, the cancellation token asked for, excuse me, you took longer than 5 seconds. Can you expire? Can you cancel? Apps. Oh, I have 11 done that. Just go back into here and give me the breakpoint here, please. All right, there we go. We got a validation result. It is valid. We didn't get any errors. So we should be able to continue on through the rest of the example. We have our database proxy. No, we can't do transaction. There it is. Because database is null. We can't mock the transaction. Or we haven't mocked the transaction. Funky chicken. Man, this is not very conducive to testing the way that I write code. Can I create a new database facade? I should be able to. So hopefully I am understanding more about how this test setup happens, that we should be able to set up the database up here. DB context mock setup. Um, oh, with our context mock dot object. DB context. Oh, right. So we don't want to, we do want to mock it because I want to mock the begin transaction. But maybe I don't have to. Maybe I can just go new database facade, pass in the context like this. We will clean this up, and again, my goal is to actually understand what it is that this is doing so it's repeatable, and so we can put together a good pattern for how to write the tests. Oh, which I guess means we can move this all the way down to here because we know we can get this far. Okay, no database provider has been configured for this DB context. Okay, so what would you expect to get back? You would expect to get back an IDB context transaction, but this will return for us an IDB context transaction. Ooh, params. So this actually does take params. Which means that we can put this down here. I'm okay with that. Which I can do up here, I guess. I can put all of these together. DB facade mock and DB facade mock setup. begin transaction async. Is this a thing that I can do? Oh man. Abstract. It is abstract. So I'd need to figure out what the actual DB transaction is. That we would get back from our SQL service provider. What if we went ahead and wrote the client side for this really quick? So our client side is just going to be a HTTP request. Which I have not injected a HTTP client yet. Let's see, Tor, HTTP client, create a private field. Dot post as JSON. Oh, right. We have to do this that way. I'm going to write this in a not super robust, as in it's not fully protected against errors and stuff, way. But once again, we declare our response model to be the same as our return type. No. Hello. Then inside of a try catch block, we go var resp equals await post as JSON async to some endpoint. I'm pretty sure it's going to be API slash. I'm not pretty sure, I guess. Am I going to have one controller for each of the transaction types, or am I going to have one transactions controller? I think I want to do it one controller per transaction type. Hello, Dukasoft. Even though they're all going to do the exact same thing. Mostly because I don't want to have to deal with writing a custom converter. I missed you yesterday. And Dukasoft says, Happy Friday. Sure, if it is your Friday, happy Friday to you. Data entry view model, cancellation token. I guess just to make this easy enough for us, since this isn't going to be our full implementation yet, and we'll think more about that, I'll just put it as /deposits, meaning we are going to have a deposits controller that's server only. You were in a meeting yesterday. That's sad. But that's okay, though. I felt your spirit. I felt it. API control. Oh, no, I forgot to name it. Oops. Deposits. You didn't rename my symbols file. And Science Streams Balint is here. At least I assume that you're the only one that logs in with the Science Streams login. It's possible that Mrs. Science Streams logs in with that and watches my streams. I don't want to be rude, but I'm going to assume it's Balint in a non-rude way. Definitely check him out. So yesterday he was looking at, what was it, a 3 million or 30 million year old um, amber encased bug. 30 million. Good grief. That is insane to think about. It hurts my brain to think that you were holding on to a thing that existed that long ago. Crazy. It breaks my brain. I can't even fathom how much how 30 million years looks relative to my short time here. But I'm doing well. A bit low energy, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying this kind of not super energetic. Oh, it's nice. Even it looked like Jeff Fritz was a little bit low energy today too, and I was vibing on his stream while I was lurking there. It was nice. It was really nice. Yeah, all is definitely well. I've been able to take this week since I'm at a work stoppage for my client project for the rest of this week. And then next week I'm starting up again, and it's going to be fun again. I love the project that I'm working on. But this time off has allowed me to choose. Well, last week I was studying for the exam that I took over the weekend and I passed. This week I've just been doing the basics of Unity. I've been following along with the Coursera course and other resources that are provided through the company that I work for to pick up some Unity skills so that I can do AR development the real way. It's going to be so much fun. So excited for that. Okay, here's my deposits controller. We're going to dependency inject a transaction entry service of deposit entry view model. Excuse me. And this will be transaction entry service. I mean, that is the name that I would give it. CodePilot knows me more than I do. I keep calling it CodePilot. It should have been called CodePilot. True.NET full stack. Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. At least I hope so. We're doing all of it. We're doing the front end, the middle tier, which is this controllers and service logic, and the back end, which is the database design, in my opinion. Database design, structure, file system stuff, ways to communicate with the operating system, worker services. Okay, so we have a HTTP post that we're working on. And this thing is going to be a public async task of response model base. Nope, iAction result. What was I thinking? And then whatever name we gave it in the service, I like to use that name for the method, for the controller methods, controller actions. Deposit entry view model. Deposit. And that is simply going to return 200 OK, await transaction entry service. So my controllers are generally dumb controllers. They only know how to do this. I want to make them slightly more robust, where instead of only doing return 200 OK, before getting to the service, it would return, or it would validate the model and then return that. But since I'm doing model validation in the service anyway, I don't feel like I want to do that up front. Why did that take me to the client? Oh, because this was supposed to be an I. Apps. Shh, don't tell anyone. I was like, this should have taken me to the interface. And then we can oops. And then we can oops. And then we can look at the server implementation here and make sure that it's taking us to the right place. Okay, good. Good. And also, what's the word I'm looking for? Right. Good. And then at the end, return resp. Okay, so that's all our controller is going to do. Here is the client implementation of most of my posts. Did the oops test pass? No, still hasn't. I'm still learning about it. Scott says, I checked the Stack Overflow 2021 survey and .NET Backend earns more than .NET Full Stack. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if you specialize in just backend. Like, it's getting to the point, again, at least for the company that I work in, that they are trying to upsell the developers, where they have developers that are specialized in those specific roles. We're not interested in buying followers. You need to try harder. So, for example, the most recent project that they were trying to submit the plan for had a mix of full stack developer as the lead, which is crazy, but the full stack developer would be the project lead, and then there was a UI developer pair of team, and then the architecture engineers, systems architects, and the DevOps, and another team that was specific to doing the back end is what I was trying to get to. Jeez. My brain just kind of blanked out for an hour then. But yeah, it seems like the UI developers were being priced at a lower price than the backend developers, which kind of makes sense to me. And the backend developers were still priced pretty comparable to the lead full stack developer, which means that if it wasn't a lead full stack developer, it would be priced lower than the backend developers. You know what I'm trying to say. I was trying to prove your statement true in the company that I work for. I was agreeing with you. That's a long way to get to. I was agreeing. Okay. So anyway, our client-side implementation. That's a face. That's a face, Scott. He really likes those red hun emotes. So what is that one supposed to signify? It's just business. It's just business. Add error. Resp. Status code dash resp reason phrase, I think. Hi. Just business, I guess. With the line chart going up. Oh my goodness, and it ends with the red hun head. Why does my database have 3 projects? Good question. Okay, so Tiger Pleb wants to know why I use 3 projects for my database. Normally, if you have a fairly simple application where you have that purpose-built database for that one application, you would have your database in the database context and models and stuff in the same projects as your server-side implementation, so your back-end project, and then the models would probably be in the shared project for both your client-side and server. So if this was a simple WebAssembly project, which it is, then I would have client shared server or client server shared. My database context would be in a folder called data in the server project, and then my models would be in the shared project in models. But for me, because of the other jobs that I've worked, or I guess the previous job and this current job, I've gotten in the habit of separating all of my stuff out quite a bit. And the way that we're separating this is we're saying that my database context that should only be touchable from the server-side applications is in this database project. The client-side models, so all of my database entities, any of the enums that I might be using, any of my helper classes, that should be available everywhere. So I split my database project up into database context. I might even have stuff in here like scripts for creating views or stored procedures. JSON, if I was using JSON for my seed data, my seeder, the thing that actually does the seeding. And then I've also seen an approach to doing all of your Fluent API stuff in separate files, one file per entity, which is really cool. I thought that was really cool. And what I mean is this stuff here. So anyway, that would be in my database project. My models project has, like I said, all of the models. And then this migrations project is the one that I'm using for my code first migrations. It's the thing that does all of my database updates because I don't want these migration files as part of my main project. The other reason I put the database in a separate project entirely is because I'm planning for what if I want to deploy on, instead of Blazor WebAssembly, Blazor Server. What if I want to deploy on, instead of Blazor Server or Blazor WebAssembly, to a MAUI app with a hosted API backend? Then I have options to be able to do that with my one database and not have to move that or copy that database project around. So the reason for 3 projects is I want to be able to access my models from any project and my database only in specific cases, the database context. And then the migrations project is for doing the update database, add migration, all of those things. Did that answer your question? Okay. While we're waiting, this is going to be, yeah, RESP is just going to be read from JSON async, response model base, int. You don't actually take the cancellation token read from JSON? I could have sworn that you did. Oh, you actually have to tell it which property. Right, because the other one is optional as well. Okay, so if this errored, then we go if ret rasp is null, ret rasp equals nil, ret rasp dot add error. The add deposit transaction operation failed. Unexpectedly. This is one of the worst error messages you can have. So we can't really provide too much information to the user, but what we will do is we'll also have logging set up. But this is the client side, so the logging would happen on the server anyway. We would probably provide some kind of failure message or something that we can get back from the server. So we should never, ever, ever hit this. Yeah, there's a few. I'll show you. So the next question that Tiger Pleb has is, are there any available optional tools to show it visualize what plugins to what? So I'm gonna ask a follow-up question to that. Or I guess you could if the cancellation token has cancellation requested. So that would be an instance where you would. But one thing that I do like to do is if we're in debug mode, when the connection to the server can't be reached. But that would be a not success status code. No, I'm not sure. Me neither. So what I like to do though is if we are in debug mode, then I add the exception to my response so that I could see the entire exception that happens. And then if we end up hitting an exception that we're not expecting, we might be able to. That's fine. I like that. We might be able to do this easierly. I hate that. It's like I'm guaranteeing that we will have a return response by that point, and this thing still thinks that it's possible that it can be null from this not parsing. Request. Yeah, okay. Anyway, this is kind of the basics of it. So we'll think about that more when we come to the front end and we're actually doing the front end API calls and everything. I just wanted to set this up in our learning process to figure out what maybe we're going to try to get from our add DB trans add this thing, add transaction data for our begin transaction. What is the concrete type that we're going to get back from this so that we can mock that? And I know it's a terrible, terrible approach to test-driven development because we should know ahead of time and write our test to fail until we write this correctly, but I don't know it. I don't know anything at all, ever. So I'm trying to find a deposit data entry form where we can rig up our edit form to on valid submit handle deposit submitted. I mean, we're pretty much just writing the entire function as if we weren't doing test-driven development. This is probably the order that I would do this in. I'm kind of sort of cheating, but it's for science. private. This is going to at least be a task. I'm assuming it's going to be an async task. Edit for or edit context. Digasoft says, I would think line 33 would cause an exception if the server couldn't be reached, but I'm not a pro. So let's look at that. I mean, we will look closer at it, but so what my assumption is that would happen is the HTTP request would happen and show up here in the network tab. Then if the server was unreachable, if the page couldn't be found or the resource couldn't be found, or if we didn't have access to it, we would get some status message that is not in the 200 range. And so this wouldn't throw an exception. This would just give me a status code that is not a 2xx status code. The only other exceptions that I can think of from happening here are null reference exception, if HTTP client is null. This could be parsing the response incorrectly, so the JSON wouldn't be deserializable. So if I changed my controller to respond with something else that we're not expecting, that's not a response model base event. If the response, even though we get a 200, if the response is HTML, this would fail. Or something that is not JSON. So yeah, this, what I might do is something like had success status, set that to false, set it to true here, and then do something with success status. Hello, Tommy. So line 30 and 52, which might be line, oh yeah, okay, so line 30 here. Yeah, exactly. So line 30 and then line what used to, or maybe this used to be 52. Yeah. So this will make sure that rest will never be null. It's just everything else was make. Oh, are you saying that on line 52 rest will never be null, so I shouldn't need to double question mark it? Because this thing here could parse a null object. So if for some reason I returned OK null, we would still be able to deserialize it as a response model base of int, but it would be a null response model base of int. And things are going well, Tommy. Thank you for asking. How are they going with you? Serializing the response model. Yeah, and so we might just explicitly look for a. Oh, I thought that this thing told us what exceptions it throws. We might just catch these specific exceptions. Again, I'm not trying to fully flesh out the client side stuff, but since we're here, we have a task canceled exception. We have an operation canceled exception, and they have to be in the right order. Because a task canceled operation is an operation canceled exception, or a task canceled exception is an operation canceled exception. And then we have possibly some kind of JSON exception. I'm sure that there's some JSON exception that we would find. And here's an example of Scott saying, "I like catching exceptions." Yeah, and this is honestly a good approach. There should really, you shouldn't have a catch-all. If you were doing fully robust methods, then you would handle all of the exceptions that this method could potentially receive. So I'm not angry at this at all. But yeah, we're essentially doing the same thing. And I'm starting to wonder, like this might make it a little bit more robust, not robust, slow. This might make it slower, where we capture any exception that happens, and then we do a switch on exception just like I did before. And we do case, and then those specific types of exceptions that I said earlier, operation, canceled exception, sex, case, task canceled exception, tsex, which we would need to do before sex, case. I don't know what the other one was. We had 3 of them, right? Maybe I only had 2 of them. And then a default case that looks like this. Yeah, yeah. So first, Tommy said, at what point could you hypothetically just catch a generic exception and use a switch, or would that not work? Yes. Instead of chaining the exceptions. And then Dukasov said, "I like throwing. We should go fishing." And then Scott responded, "The recommended way is catching the specific exceptions, and the very last one exception, the X, will be unhandled." Yeah, and it's good to know. The reason that I just kind of don't want to do that is the difference between writing wet code, where I would be doing retresp question mark equals new on every exception, and then just deciding which error message to output. And even here, the only thing that I'm doing is getting an error message. Yeah. It's just funny that you were asking about that, and that's just and no, I wasn't looking either. And you typed it before I put all of this on here before I came up with this. So, if anything, I'd be copying you, but I didn't read chat until after I typed this out. But really, the only thing that I'm doing is choosing what error message to output, and then putting it in here. Okay, so that goes there. X switch, and then instead of case, we do this, arrows, some string, no breaks. I get no breaks. Oops. I still needed that error message though. Can I borrow this? Okay. So we could do it like this, where the only thing that I'm getting from the error message or the exception that happened is the error message here, and then I would log the actual exception. If we were in debug, we would have probably logged on the server by this point, but remember this is on the client, so I don't really want to expose the exception messages to the client. I think there's only one L in canceled. Well, I think it can be spelled either way, but I've been consistently spelling it with one L. And I think it has to do with are you British or American? One L is more American English, two L's is British English. Oh, hey. Yes. I just got a message from the head of the group for the metaverse stuff from the company, and it looks like they are getting ready to start this group, and I am really, really excited about this. Oh my gosh, that's going to be so cool. I get to be part of a group that writes some industry standard or establishes industry standard stuff for programming for the metaverse. Oh, that's exciting. Sorry. I need to reach out. That made me really, really excited. Um, so Tommy was saying somewhere up here, I would guess that chaining the exceptions iterates faster than hopping into a generic and using a switch. Like, I think because I'm doing pattern matching for my switch, then yes. Um, doing the catch this specific exception would be faster than saying switch on this expression, first check to see is it a task canceled exception. If it is a task canceled exception, reference that in this variable here. And actually, I can just discard those because I'm not doing anything with the exception itself. Um, yeah, and then it would move on to the next one. Is this exception A that this can be cast to this using either reflection or try-cast or whatever it's using? Um, it's actually, wait, answer talks about good use of why it's best practice to use try-catch instead of catch, catch, catch. Or, yeah. Wait, why it's good practice to use try catch instead of switch is my guess. Well, I mean, like, I am interested in this. That's why I opened it up. But what I think might not be mentioned in here is Tommy's question and my question as well. Is it bad practice to do catch exception with a switch statement? That'd be an interesting one to see what people think about. Catch C sharp catch chaining versus catch exception with switch. Is this the same one that you just... Like, it's rated up a lot. This is probably the most I've seen an answer rated up, but use pretty much a switch inside of catch exception. Yeah, like this is even worse in my opinion. Yeah, yeah, because the whole point is for our specific case, we're catching the exception and we're always going to do something, which is make sure that retresp is a new response model base of int in every single one of our catches. So if I wrote these other two catches individually up here, the first line in both of them would be this. So in order to prevent repeating code, I catch the exception once, and then I handle that exception. Or I do the common thing for all of them is what I meant to say, and the common thing after all of them, and then I just switch out what the error message is that's supposed to display. So that's my reason for preferring switch in this case. Or even if it was an if. Is this available to us yet? It is. It is. And I think that was C sharp 9, I want to say. That we can put the or and the and in our switch expressions when doing pattern matching. That's fun. I don't know how to read that. Was that a what did you do statement or what did you do question? I put the or, yeah. So if the exception is either a task canceled exception or an operation canceled exception, we're going to get this message back. And then the underscores are, I'm not keeping track of which one it was. So if I wanted to, I could have this assigned to the variable tsex and have this one assigned to the variable osex. I can't in this way. A variable may not be declared in a not or pattern. So you have to do the discard variable. And the discard can be removed because now we're just checking on type. Wow. I like this. I'm not going to lie. I prefer this. I might just adopt this as how I'm going to do it and be okay with it. And if anyone wants to yell at me for it, I'll be like, it's the choice I made. And I'm going to keep doing it. So anyway, we ended up writing the entire client-side implementation, which is fine because I'm not really doing test-driven development for the client-side implementation. They're all going to follow this pattern for the post. The thing that I would like to do is make this generic. Using new stuff is always cool. Even if it's not appropriate, it's still cool. So the whole reason that I did this was so that I can see what the DB transaction is, the type of IDB transaction. Live Coden's here. Live Coden said, I give blanket permission for nobody to test the front end. Still too hard to be worth it. I might come around to it. Maybe limited front end testing if you're writing something super complex. Yeah. Yeah. So the only thing that we're going to do in here is var. Actually, we're not even going to do var. We're going to declare private response model base. Current response. So we're going to go current response equals default. We're going to null it out essentially. And current response equals this, which we haven't injected our deposit entry service. Not state, transaction entry service of deposit entry view model, deposit entry service. And we'll go ahead and do some more UI stuff. Private bool submitting. Set that to true. Set it to false after we're done. And what we're gonna do is go over to the UI and say in the table, there is no table. We'll go up here under the data annotations validator and we'll say div class error message. Actually, it's not even going to be that. This is our error message wrapper for now. And if current response was error, we'll wrap our error message, which again, because of the way that I've made the response model, we have a method in it that is render error. So it'll be a render fragment that gets rendered out to the component. And so if we get an error back, we'll see it here. So for example, let's see what happens. Well, yeah, let's just see what happens if I tell this thing the wrong endpoint. Programming assignments? What are you in school? Yes, I'm in school. Kind of. But how are you doing today, live coding? If you feel like answering, there is no requirement for you to need to type if you are busy or just don't feel like answering. But if you do, I'm interested. Okay, so if we try to submit this, then it says transaction date is required. Payee value text field is required. I need to change those. So let's fill in some values for those. We actually have a date picker. That's cool. Today, Vindy's. We don't have the message saying that the total amount must be greater than 0, but that's why it's not submitting. Yeah, that's why it's not submitting. Oh, actually, we're supposed to be in deposit anyway. Checking, regular paycheck. That's a lot of money. There we go. The request to add the deposit failed. Server responded with status not found. And then not found. Wait. Isn't status code supposed to be the 404? Interesting. I thought that was supposed to say 404. Whatever. But that is true. So we got a 404. And so now if we change it to the right endpoint, but maybe we feed it. We can't feed it an invalid model because I have it validating the model. You need to rebuild. While it's rebuilding, I need to take a really quick step away. I've been doing a little dance. I don't know if you could tell. I'll be right back. Super right back. Thanks for your patience. Tukasoft told me to drink water. I will. Refill. So Tiger is saying, I'm doing a little research and it shows to extract dependency diagrams from VS. Oh crap, I completely forgot. So extract dependency diagrams from Visual Studio is not supported. You should be able to do a run code analysis. You know what? I think you're right. I don't have Visual Studio Enterprise installed anymore, so I can't, and I have my work laptop turned off, so I can't verify that you can create class maps in Visual Studio Enterprise. This might be useful in your application. Yes, maybe. Wait. Like, this might be a little bit out there, but it doesn't look like it's specific to Entity Framework. Yeah, and it looks like it's more of the real MVVM approach than what my application is. Gosh, where am I going to put this? We'll look at it later. Um, but the way that I'm doing it also ensures state, not state, but database state. So yeah, yeah. I would have to know what the intent of this is. I don't think it has anything to do with Entity Framework or writing to a database. So I don't know that it's really. Yeah. throw your boat. So I think maybe that's just a distraction for now, but we can look at it closer in a little bit. Let me finish responding to Tiger Club though. You can draw it manually. There might be an extension. So I can't vouch for any of these because I've never used them, but you might look at extensions to see if maybe uh, there are extensions that'll help write UML diagrams using your project structure and your code structure. But the one for databases, at least, is called EF Core Power Tools, and that is an extension that you can have, and you can show your database diagram. Which, I mean, if you're using SQL Server, you may as well use in the built-in tools for SQL Server. But if you wanted to just do it within Visual Studio, you could use EF Core, and you're using Entity Framework, you could use EF Core Power Tools to not build. I think maybe we need to stop the application in order for this to work. Do I need to do it on the... I was pretty sure it was on the context for... Oh, it's probably on the project that uses the database context, not the one that has the database context. I always forget. Still no? Oh wait, that says build succeeded. There it goes. How do we still have a deposit and transfer table? Oh, no, we don't. We don't. Just being crazy. That's all. A pearl shirt today. Go drummers. Yeah. Best reason to play drums. Awesome. Hope it helps. Hope it helps. Okay, so we are going to try hitting this breakpoint using full debug. So that we can. No. Reset Migrations is our startup app. Let's set this as our startup app. So that we can hit this breakpoint so that we can finally find out what the actual concrete type of the DB transaction, IDB transaction is, so that we can mock it, so that we can get this test to work finally. Daddy entry. Deposits. Today. Or the 29th. Paycheck. Some large number. Internal server error. You didn't even hit the controller. Probably something to do with I could not provide a dependency for one of the things. And that thing is unable to resolve service for lazy of transaction model validator of deposit entry view model. Okay, let's make it one simpler real quick. Let's get rid of the lazy of just to make sure that it is actually the transaction model validator. In the server-side service. In the constructor. I transaction model validator. Wait. Oh, it must be a transaction model validator because it's the abstract class of, yeah. So that's fine. That's what I'm supposed to do. And we make it back to the service extensions. That's the transaction entry service. We're on the server side extensions. Add server services. Shared server is supposed to have, I know we put it in here somewhere. Fluent validation. Okay, so maybe in program.cs for the server project, I did not builder.services.add fluent validation. Apps. Are you going to rebuild for me? Pretty please? No? All right, restart. Disco said, I was a DCI kid. Were you actually in DCI? Because obviously that was the dream while I was in high school in marching band. Who'd you play for? That's crazy. Phantom Regiment. Santa Clara. Cavaliers. I'm staring. I'm waiting. I want to know. I have to know. Blue Devils, Blue Coats, the Cadets. Oh my gosh, that's cool. That's so cool. That must have been an experience. I never actually did DCI. I did marching band from 1996 through 2009. 14 years. To present, yes. Yes, deflux. I deflux. Actually, no, that's a lie. 2006. Because 2007 or somewhere around that range, I stopped doing marching band so that I could focus on passing because I was failing hard at college. And I knew that I needed to focus only on my coursework, and that meant not doing marching band because that meant no Friday night parties every weekend in the fall and drinking myself to oblivion and not doing my studies. It was bad times. Good times, but bad times. Um, but they still had me helping out on occasion. So filling in when one of the bass line was gone, because I knew pretty much like for fight song for the alma, well, not the alma mater, but for Wabash Cannonball, for Star Spangled Banner, all of the standard pregame music. I, gosh, my brain, I can't think right now. Is what I um Yeah, I knew the part for every bass drum, is what I was trying to say. So whenever they needed me to fill in for a bass drum, I was able to. And then I had nightmares about them asking me to fill in for like new music, and I needed to learn the part either the morning of the game or the night before the game for the halftime show. Yeah, just mentioning the parties does that to me. I made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. But anyway, that's awesome that you did the cadets. That's really cool. I was actually recently watching some DCI videos back on YouTube. It was good times. Those are good times. Remembering, wishing I was in DCI or wishing I could do DCI. Problem is, I went straight from, well, first of all, high school. High school was a problem for me. And then being around new people would have been even worse. And then extending my time essentially in high school. Like, how does that work? Do you still take classes and stuff somehow? Because I would have most likely had to move. I would have wanted to be in either Vanguard or um, Phantom Regiment or the Cavaliers. I know I probably wouldn't have been good enough, but those would be my top three. Um, so I would have been somewhere completely different and doing drum corps, what, 10 hours a day? And then somehow still try to graduate high school. And then I had the opportunity after graduating, but it's like I just want to go straight to college and get that done. So what do I do? I don't know what those buzzes are though, Deflex. That doesn't sound like a roll off to me. If anyone was in K-State marching band, I could probably trigger you. Ready. I don't know if that's what drums sound like, even as onomatopoeias. Oh my goodness, I'm doing nothing now. So distracted. Um, we're going to figure out if now we have a fluent validation dependency injection available. I wonder if that is a thing, testing dependency injections. Still, internal server error. And that one is console. Oh, there you are. So our next one is invalid operation exception. Unable to resolve. Lazy of. Are we sure this is the new message? Do you have timestamps? It doesn't have timestamps. Estape. Let me rebuild just to make sure. Oh, obviously it didn't work because there are errors. We're in debug. Why is this not highlighted? Doesn't matter. This is the Maui app. And this is so confusing. Whatever. We're not trying to build the Maui app. So Maui app, you go away. And actually, that shouldn't be any of our errors because we aren't building the Maui app. Oh, okay. So this is the test. That's why the test isn't building. Okay, so that built just fine. So Dflix was saying, I haven't really done any work in the past 4 weeks, and no one has noticed. But as a good news, I got a raise just under the rate of inflation. Yeah, you mentioned that on Discord, maybe? Dang it. Okay, so this time our console should only have the new stuffs. So yeah, it's lazy of this thing. And this is a transaction view model validator of deposit entry view model. And if we look in program.cs for the server, we'll see that I should now have that transaction view model validator of deposit entry view model. And it'll give us a new deposit entry view model every time. And actually, this really could be singleton. But the thing that I want to take away from our transaction entry service holy cow. I'm sorry. I got distracted. This is crazy. That was crazy. Okay. I wanted to move this back to what we had before with not using lazy. So that's what this is. Are you going to ask me to, rebuild? No? Hello? There it goes. You. Go. 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 Money. I think there was a 0.0 in front of that somewhere. Please enter a valid value. Hey, look at that. Look at that. It made it through the dependency injection. So lazy of didn't work the way that I was expecting it to, which is annoying, but that's okay. The name of our secret, he's gonna open secrets on stream, is default connection, not DB connection. And what about you, app settings? DB connection. I think I'm gonna use DB connection. And let's take a look at yours. You should use the same secrets. Manage user secrets. It does. And then app settings. Yep. And the Maui project wouldn't have a DB connection string because that's client only. Data connection. Thank you, Tucson. I do love my data. Okay, so that one was an exception because I typed in the incorrect value for the name of the connection string that we were trying to use for this. Deposit. 22. Checking. Money. Go. Value parameter cannot be null. It should not be null. Hello. Null. It's coming back as null. Your mom is null. What? It's been a while since you've said that. Okay. Maybe, just maybe, I didn't actually change the right one. So this is the migrations project. So this one is fine. But this is the Blazor WebAssembly. Is it DB context in here? It says DB context. Consistent, man. This guy needs to be consistent. You know what I mean? My forehead really itches right now. My frontal lobe has been working too hard. Prefrontal cortex. Go. Hey, we hit the breakpoint. Okay, what is your concrete type senior transaction? SQL Server transaction. And this is an internal. Excuse me. Can I get your type of so that I can... Nope, that's not how you do it. Instantiated type.get type. Oh. Okay. I would like to capture, if you'll let me, name, full name. Thank you. So that we can go over here to our test and mock this thing. I thought so. Oh, wait. Okay. You cannot... ooh, there is no formal parameter given for connection. Maybe we can mock this thing. New mock. Okay. Excuse me. Object. Something's got to work. Let's see if we can at least do this or not. Debug. Please? No? Still have errors? What my errors is? Output. Oh, right. We're no longer using a lazy load model validator. Instead, we're just going to pass in this. Okay, that should work. Let's debug. Go. It didn't even get that far. Cannot instantiate proxy of class. Could not find constructor that would match the given arguments. And its database facade. Can I cast it to DB context? And thank you for the follow. Zemio. Zamo. Zymo? Zymo? One of those is going to be right. Anonymous member types must be declared within the parameter. Okay, how about now? 10 bucks says that this is going to give us back null. I'll probably lose 10 bucks. I hope I lose 10 bucks. Squeenix wants to say Diofield Chronicle, which is a tabletop. I like tabletop games. What do you say? Are you null? It is not null. And that mocked. And so did that. Yay. Oh, but then we... What? That's a lie. So this is still telling me that it can't find a constructor of database facade. Maybe you'll lose null bucks. And then everything will crash. And look, here's a constructor that takes a DB context. So the exception that we're getting is cannot instantiate proxy of class, database facade, could not find a constructor that would match the arguments. Maybe it's not supposed to be a new anonymous of. Oh, it's supposed to be a new array. Well, yeah. I tried this before and it yelled at me. Because normally when you see something that's like params array, then you should just be able to put some object, comma, some other object, comma, some other object, as many as you want. I don't know why that was weird. Let's try it again. Do it again. This time, don't suck. Yeah. Okay, it worked. I like that it worked. And we made it this far finally. Okay, so now can we mock begin transaction? No, we can't. And could not find a parameterless constructor on transaction mock. Right, didn't I already fix that? Welcome back, Tommy, says Dugasoft. I say it too. So this thing needs to not be a null. Var hold equals new this thing. And this thing needs a new connection. Dang it, this really sucks. We have to mock all of this. And it's the only constructor, which means we have to supply all of that. like, is there a way? Hmm. Like, there's no way for me to mock out this IDB transaction thing. And speaking of, you just need to be way up here. Where do I even declare the cancellation token source? There is no returns async. Cannot turn. Oh, close. Cannot cast from task of DB transaction to task of IDB context transaction. Oh, crap. I'm stabbing at the air now. It's like I just want to get this thing put together and then maybe we can go back and understand it and then fix it and stuff. Like I don't even think that I'm going to be following this entire mock thing up here anymore. It might just be better to see if we can get this into a in-memory database. Nope. Unable to cast type DB transaction proxy to an IDB context transaction, most likely. And I really can't create a new DB transaction. What issue did I have with this? DB transaction was an abstract class. Yeah. xunit mock identity framework IDB context transaction. I would strongly recommend not trying to create a test double for DB context. Instead, if you want to write a test at this level, I would consider creating your own interface or even a repository that defines the behaviors you want to be able to mock, then use that. How? What is this? As it says in the message, you can make transactions a no-op if you don't actually need transactions. Code samples? Anyone? Oh my gosh. Okay, so the point is, even if I were to use a finance man context, even if I were to use an in-memory database for all of this stuff, and not this mock of IDB context factory, mock of finance man context, I would still have an issue with the begin transaction async. Whoa. Live coding has been trying to help me out. Yeah, SQL transactions. Sorry, I didn't see your chats until just now. And then here is a Stack Overflow. And Captain Commerce says, ooh, did someone say Stack Overflow? Ahoy, everyone. Hello, Captain Commerce. Thank you, Tukasoft. Oh my gosh, you're so nice to me. Why are you so nice? I hope you don't feel obligated to do this. I really, really appreciate you. Anyway, he just did a shout out for Captain Commerce. Captain Commerce is one of our community members that also streams regularly when he doesn't have other situations happening and he is able to. Check him out. He's doing some Blazor stuff, working on a card catalog is what I'm going to call it. Not a library card catalog, but various types of card games that are being tracked. What sets of cards they have, like Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons / Magic the Gathering, Final Fantasy, and other things. But live coding gave me this. Mock object, get queryable, test repository. So here's what the issue is, live coding, if you haven't been, if you weren't able to see this yet. I'm able to get all the way up to the point of mocking just about everything out except for my DB transaction. So we have the database facade that gets returned by begin transaction. I've already lost where we are. Yeah. Wait, where did I get database facade from? Oh yeah, yeah. So the begin transaction. I don't even know where it is that it's causing the issue. I think it is this line that's causing the issue, where I was trying to create a new database facade. So the entire add transaction method that we're trying to test, I've mocked the data that we're passing in, the cancellation token, the IDB context factory, the method to get the context back from IDB context factory, the validator. So all of this stuff is now mocked up to this point. And it's this line that I'm now trying to mock, begin transaction. And even if I were to switch over to use an in-memory database, this line would fail as well because in-memory database does not support mocking, or does not support transactions. And yeah, I just can't mock this method here. And I'm assuming that also means that I can't mock the commit async. But it's the end of my stream anyway. I need to get back to work, so we can explore more tomorrow. 5 minutes. I need to get back on the clock. So if you're going to be here tomorrow, I'll take it. Because I'm going to put this aside for now, and you're going to be having lunch, so maybe. Okay, if you happen to be around, I'll definitely take whatever thoughts and suggestions. Maybe we just need to scrap this entire approach. Yeah, we'll get to that. So we'll find out on the morrow. And yeah, here's my ending screen. Hello, ending screen. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Unit testing is a pain. That's how you know it's working. Thank you. Thank you for giving me that vote of confidence. Why can't you stream 12 hours? I could, but I need to, do my actual hours for work. And then after work, I like to spend, for those of you that are still relatively new, and I haven't said this out loud, I really, really enjoy being married to my wife. She's amazing. And I want to give her as much of my time as I can. So the only time that I really dedicate to streaming is during my normal work hours. I actually wake up an extra 2 hours early so that the morning time is that I would normally spend working up until 3:30. I'm done for the day with everything outside of my wife and me. Because, yeah, well, everything outside of our personal life, which includes me doing tutorials and side projects and other stuff like that, but with my wife, being around my wife and all of that. So now you know. Otherwise, I would stream more often because I do love hanging out with you guys and getting feedback and just programming with you. So like Dukasoft is posting, my videos will be posted to YouTube 24 hours after the stream, except for yesterday's video that I did not prepare to be posted. that I'll do right now. That'll be available as soon as I do that. But today's should be available tomorrow after 12:30. But if you are interested in watching the video back immediately, it's going to be available on Twitch. So you can definitely check it out there if you want to see the VOD. Otherwise, tomorrow's Community Day, Friday. Fridays here are Community Day, where I try to invite people onto one of the Discord voice channels to discuss some programming topic and just whatever we feel like talking about. So I haven't been doing a good job of making it an official thing or as involved or as community focused as it has been in the past, but we'll get back to that someday. But for now, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and join me again sometime in the future whenever you feel like it. I'll be here Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, UTC-6 currently for another couple months. And on Tuesdays from here on out, I believe I will be starting 3 hours later. Yeah, so Tuesdays will be 1:30 p.m. I think, provided that meeting still stands after I am back from the work stoppage with the client. So we'll find out. But yeah, until the next time, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I think I've said that like 6 times now. That's it. Ciao. I'm going to turn the music up now. And keep waving.